Hello and welcome to the LLG Grapevine podcast. You're listening to Helen McGrath, Head of Public Affairs, and Dennis Hall, LLG Bulletin Editor.
Hi everyone.
Another busy week with standards once again in the news. We've seen the chair of the Committee on Standards in Public Life speaking at a parliamentary committee and describing the government as careless about standards. Also of interest, the Health and Care Bill began its committee stage in the House of Lords. But more on that in a moment.
And this was a week when Prime Minister's questions focused on those parties at number 10. And the vital link between standards and confidence in government was all too clear to see in the reactions to the latest revelations. But let's start with that Health and Care Bill.
The Health and Care Bill began its committee stage in the House of Lords last week, and the LGA has been working with various stakeholders to draft amendments to the bill. These amendments are in relation to new powers under the bill, which allow the Secretary of State to intervene at an earlier stage in NHS reconfiguration proposals. Now, the term reconfiguration in this context, of course, is the euphemistic term for service reduction or relocation that is often highly controversial. That's why these changes really matter. The amendments would require the Secretary of State to consult with relevant health overview and scrutiny committees when exercising these powers to ensure that local accountability is not eroded. The LGA makes some important points here. Many provisions in the bill relate to the practical steps the NHS must take to reorganise governance, staff and budgets. However, it is vital that clinical, professional, political and community leaders at local and national level stay focused on the broader and more challenging ambition to work together to improve health and well-being and reduce health inequalities, which have widened further during the pandemic. This new bill was a key topic in our last governance conference, and the new provisions will be of a special interest to governance lawyers and democratic services colleagues. So look out for more on this from us.
The government has pledged to take fresh action to fix the cladding crisis and relieve the burden on leaseholders, who have so far faced potentially ruinous costs from remediation work, as reported by ITV Online. Housing Secretary Michael Gove said developers must agree a £4 billion plan to fix dangerous cladding on lower-rise flats by early March, or risk new laws forcing them to act. LGA Housing spokesperson Councillor David Renard said that leaseholders were not the only innocent victims of the scandal. He said the construction industry must also be made to fix the fire safety defects it has built into blocks owned by councils and housing associations. Sticking with housing, the Lords Built Environment Committee has said barriers to house building must be removed urgently, as too many people are living in expensive, unsuitable and poor quality properties. In a report, it said skills shortages must be addressed. Planning departments need more resources, and money spent on housing benefit should be invested in increasing the social housing stock over time. Councillor Renard from the LGA said, "We fully support the committee's call for more investment by increasing social housing stock if we are to tackle the housing crisis. By giving councils the powers and resources to build 100,000 much-needed social homes a year, we can help the government meet its annual target of 300,000 new homes. This should include further reform of the right to buy." Moving on to case law, I hear you found an unusual case, Dennis. Something about a snooty fox.
It's true. There has been a case concerning the Snooty Fox pub, which was covered in all the legal media this week. North Northamptonshire Council has agreed to pay around £4 million to a publican who alleged an abusive process in a food safety case brought against him by a predecessor authority more than 20 years ago. The case was launched in 2018 against the now disbanded East Northamptonshire Council. Take a look at the article in the Local Government Lawyer for the full story, which is too complex to reveal here, but it reads like a novel. The key ingredients of this case are reported to include allegations of a vendetta and a love affair at the heart of the motivations of those involved, all played out at a pub called the Snooty Fox. There have only ever been 2 successful civil actions brought to recover damages for the tort of abusive process in the whole of English legal history, the last such case being in 1861. In addition to paying damages, North Northamptonshire will also make an apology for its predecessor's actions in open court, admitting abuse of process. Now, to my mind, to say the least, this case still raises a number of questions about key officer accountabilities. But, on the other hand, something like this could never happen in your council, could it?
Turning to our colleagues in Wales, highlights from the Welsh Bulletin include the following. The Law Commission's project to review the law governing the operation of the devolved tribunals in Wales and to make suggestions for reform has culminated in the publication of a written Cabinet statement which was laid before the Senedd on the 9th of December last year and can be found within the Senedd update. A consultation has opened on the draft statutory guidance on the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 for community and town councils, following the Act being passed in January of last year. The draft guidance supports community and town councils to consider the requirement should they wish to become eligible community councils. This guidance also provides information to help all community councils discharge their new duties, including accessing meetings from multiple locations, providing opportunity for public participation at public council meetings, preparing and publishing an annual report, and preparing and publishing a training plan to support training for councillors and council staff. The consultation closes on the 17th of March. And the Welsh Tax Act's Power to Modify Bill, introduced on the 13th of December and currently at stage 1, enables Welsh ministers to make changes to the devolved Welsh taxes, including imposing changes to the amounts payable by taxpayers. Now, Dennis, you've been looking at issues around COVID isolation. What should managers be doing now that isolations are on the increase?
Sometimes what seem to be the smallest things actually matter the most. Those of you who manage staff should look at the Law Society Gazette article on dealing with colleagues in COVID isolation. COVID has changed everything, and as this piece argues, we should take care to keep in touch with colleagues not just working remotely, but especially those who are currently in isolation. For them, a few words from you might really matter to them. More employers are isolating now than ever before. So how have you modified your approach to your staff? Now, let's be clear. If you're a manager and you don't see yourself as a people person, then you're probably in the wrong job. This is an opportunity for senior managers to demonstrate the essence of true leadership by showing concern for your employees. Now, the point of this article is this. COVID has changed the way we work, the way we manage people, and now the way we support their well-being.
Quite so. Now, turning to the national picture, the LGA's Parliamentary Bulletin, looking ahead to 2022, confirms the expectation that the Levelling Up White Paper is due in the next couple of weeks, but there has been recent speculation that it might be delayed further. It also expects the Planning Bill to be due later this year. Additionally, it confirms that the Integration White Paper, which is being brought forward by the government alongside the Health and Care Bill, is expected earlier this year and is likely to outline moves to escalate the scale and pace of integration between health and social care. Following an announcement by the Education Secretary at Conservative Party conference, it also expects a school white paper in 2022, which the Secretary of State advised would outline plans to tackle innumeracy and illiteracy, and confirms that the public inquiry into the COVID-19 pandemic is expected to begin work in the spring. And finally, if you are concerned with licensing at your authority or just interested from a personal point of view, no names here, the Home Office will shortly be launching a public consultation on extending the licensing hours for pubs, clubs and bars from the normal 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Thursday the 2nd, Friday the 3rd and Saturday the 4th of June to coincide with the 4-day bank holiday celebrations to mark Her Majesty's 70-year reign at the Platinum Jubilee. So look out for that. Now, you can get much more on this and all the items mentioned in this week's podcast by going to Bulletin 2, available from last Friday on the LLG website. So it's goodbye from me.
And from me too.
Thank you for listening. Have a good week.